Welcome to the Better Together podcast, where we look at ways that we can come together and help each other in the ministry. Today I have with us Don Matchett. He is the Director of Church Relations for Free Will Baptist International Missionaries. He works with our churches, he works with our missionaries, and he's here today to share some updates in light of the COVID-19 crisis. So Don, thank you, buddy, for taking the time to be with us today.
Good to be here.
A lot of things up in the air, a lot of things happening at this time. Tell us a bit about how International Missions has dealt with the COVID-19 crisis at this point.
Well, of course, I think we're like everybody else. We're doing the social distancing like everyone else, but we're definitely still moving forward. Still lots of decisions to make every day. Most of our teams are meeting on a daily basis. We're meeting at least once or twice a week as a group. So it's just good times to be in social distancing for sure with all the technology.
It is. I know you've had a couple of missionaries who dealt with COVID-19, and looks like they're making progress. They're recovering from it pretty well at this point.
Yeah, we're thankful for that, for sure. Becky Riggs and Lori Torres both tested positive. They've already gone all the way through, and probably saw on social media, Lori just posted she has retested and is tested negative. So we're
Very
thanking
good.
the Lord for that. Thanking the Lord for that. Sure.
Well, we're definitely praying for them, but all of these challenges have led to having to move the WMO offering. So it won't be in April this year. Why don't you talk to us a bit about that and what that means for our churches?
Yeah, that's a great topic. We've been measuring this out for a few weeks now, since the very beginning, to see what would be best. And it really felt like the pastors and the churches out there, there's some that are suffering, and it's definitely different times. And we really felt like instead of trying to push ourselves forward, it felt like a time to be a team player. And we are a team, and that's part of our mission statement, that we're working together. So it just felt like it was time for us to step back and maybe try to encourage church members to support their local church. And so we're going to do that. We've rescheduled to August the 30th. That'll be just after the National. And we're excited about it. There's still lots of good opportunities by doing that. And we think the Lord's going to favor us for it.
So folks can plan for that. We do encourage folks to keep on praying for our missionaries and thinking about some of the challenges they're having, and then just plan to have a offering there in August. What are some particular ways that we as churches can support our missionaries at this time, this particular situation?
Yeah, of course, I think we're like everybody else. Every missionary service that was within 2 months has been canceled, like everything else. So it does bring some questions to us. What's the future hold? We have, 15 missionaries right now. Some of those are new. Some of them have just come home. So the question is how does that affect for the future? And of course, pastors, we completely understand where they're at. They can't even think about scheduling missionaries right now. So we're just waiting. We're going to see what happens after this passes. We prayerfully hope that everything, the economy, the churches, everything is going to fire right back up, and we'll be on our way. But I see this, there's going to be at least some delay for some of our missionaries. We're probably looking at least a 6-month delay stateside for them. And, a lot of these guys have been very creative, and we've tried to encourage them to do everything they can to be on social media. We've seen some interviews that some of our missionaries have done, similar to what we're doing right now, that's going out to congregations that are watching online. And we've seen missionaries who have put little tag advertisements on the front or the back of a service. But we've also encouraged our missionaries to continue to to reach out to individuals. Every missionary has those people who are close to them that support them in a very strong way. So we've been encouraging them to reach out to them as well. So they're still being active. I think the big question is where are we going to go from here?
Mm-hmm. And you've got some missionaries that are coming off the field, I suppose, at this time as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who do you have coming off right now?
Well, to be honest, a lot of the question is, I think, is if and when
Mm-hmm.
can they come home? Because I've seen some of your other podcasts. You've been interviewing some of the missionaries that are on the field, and some of those countries are much worse than we are, and
Mm-hmm.
so that stops a lot of the travel, and then we're trying to balance out. At the same time, you have these missionaries that are coming home. What are they coming home to? Is it better to leave them on the field? Just lots of questions right now. We have 5 groups that are actually scheduled to come in, and they're all scheduled to come in, at least in time for the national. So we really think that probably out of those 5, some of those are going to be delayed, and maybe even as much as a year. So we just have to.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you have a lot of missionaries in hot spots. Obviously, if someone has COVID-19, they were in a place where that put them at great risk as they were trying to minister with folks. And so that's another thing just to think about, and I guess that we need to pray for at this particular time. Are there any other things you think of we as Christians should be praying about right now?
Yeah, definitely be praying for our missionaries as they're working. I mean, they're putting themselves, and they're, like you mentioned, a lot of these people are missionaries in hot spots, and some of these places have seen it a lot worse than what we have seen. We just got off the phone or off a Skype call with Anthony Edgman, and we've talked to Davisons as well. They've been hit pretty hard. So I think it's just a great time for us all to unite together and just remember each other in prayer, for sure.
Well, that's great. So let's definitely be praying for them. And really, it just shows you how this is truly a pandemic. It has impacted most of the world in some way. So we want to be praying that the gospel will go forth during this time. Well, thank you, Don, for stopping by and being with us today.
Let me say one other thing, Eddie. We really, really appreciate that the executive office, as they always have, but we appreciate you guys championing the missionaries. The interviews have been great, been wonderful. We appreciate you doing that.
Hey, we're glad to do it, and we appreciate them doing it. Nothing like someone interviewing you when you're battling COVID-19 or you're in the midst of all that. So we appreciate them taking the time to do it. And that can help us in many ways. It can help us I think that's in our future, what many of them were dealing with. But also it makes me proud to see the good work that they're doing and how they're doing it under great duress, but the gospel still is going forth. And I hate to see them suffer, but I'm glad to see them doing what they're doing. It makes me very proud of them and what they're doing for Christ.
Well,
hey,
one thing we know, and I feel very confident about this, and I've been telling our missionaries, God's not surprised by this at all.
Yes.
And, I've heard other people say that as well. And He is faithful. And we also know that this will bring Him glory. It really will.
It will. Well, thank you, Don, for the good work you guys are doing. And
thank you.
We all will be praying for you as well, and praying for our churches and praying that the gospel goes forth. And we'll see even more people come to know the Lord after all of this or through all of this as well.
Amen and amen.